All right, Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to the weekly Shabbat. Started with this prayer. Most High Abba Yahuah, oh, how righteous are you. We thank you for allowing us another opportunity to gather here at your spiritual table to dine with you in spirit and in truth, to ingest this oh so powerful and explosive lesson that you have put together for us, that we may continuously dine in your word and knowing what your righteousness is, knowing what your judgments are, knowing what your Torah is, as well as all of the commandments that are included in it, so that we may continue to grow in you, as well as those that are listening to the playback. May they continue to be blessed by this message that we are going to put out here, that it may glorify you, the only true and living God. In Yahusha's name, we pray.
All right. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, welcome and Shabbat Shalom
Shabbat Shalom.
and Baraka. All right. So we're going to start off with the word of today's lesson. And the word of today's lesson is strength. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I'm going to lead up to what today's lesson is. But I want you to keep in mind what the word strength means to you and what your understanding is of strength. And as we go through today's lesson, understanding what strength is to man and what strength is to Elohim or Yahuah. All right, because there are differences pertaining to how strength is utilized in the two worlds which we know that collide, which is the world of man or mankind or the adversary of Yahuah, and the world of Yahuah, which comes to earth on the kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. All right, so keep those things in mind in regards to what strength is to the different worlds, and we will see how those things unfold over the plan of salvation. All right. So, where have you been receiving and giving your strength? Do you know, according to sound doctrine of the scriptures, where you have obtained your strength and who you are strengthening and when? It is important for all of us to know whose strength you have been a part of and what you were or are strengthening. When we truly have the principal understanding based on the reason why we're here, and I highly suggest that you study this lesson repeatedly in its entirety if you haven't already done so, for the hard to endure truths, for it to only resonate with those who are pure at heart and align themselves with the will of Yahuah, the creator of all things. Were or are you a worker of iniquity and giving strength to the adversary and not our creator Yahuah and his righteousness? Before you pull the trigger on answering so quickly, examine and analyze what the scriptures reveal regarding the reason why we're here, Yahuah's plan of salvation, Yahuah's mind or knowledge of righteousness, by entering through the narrow gate and surrendering all, and signs that follow all true believers, all which are unsealed and revealed lessons and commentary that can assist you in your understanding, in answering the question correctly according to sound doctrine. If you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, then you will be able to identify what strength you have been giving power and what strength you have fought against. Revelations 12, until you come out of her. Revelations 18:4, according to sound doctrine of the scriptures. Many will tell you that they know in their spirit that they are of the spirit of righteousness of our Creator, as stated in the scriptures of the Bible. If this is so, then they and all of us must be able to soundly prove all things, as stated in 1 Thessalonians 5:21, by trying the Spirit by the Spirit, 1 John 4:1, according to sound doctrine, and not fabricated, adulterated, defiled, misaligned, or carnal teachings that keeps one from the only way they know that they can know their Creator, which can only be done by faith and in spirit and in truth. Hebrews 11:1, 10, and John 4:23 and 24. So, again, where have you been receiving and giving your strength before and now? Selah. Strength. The definition of strength, according to the dictionary, there's different definitions, and I want each and every one of you to just think about these things. I'm not going to pinpoint any one of those, but I do want to list all of these to get you to understand what strength is and how strength is defined by man, and as we go through how strength is defined by our Creator and what he's doing. So, first, the quality or state of being strong, bodily or muscular power. Number 2, mental power, force, or vigor. Number 3, moral power, firmness, or courage. Number 4, power by reason of influence, authority, resources, numbers, etc. Number 5, number as of personnel or ships in a force or body. Number 6, effective force, potency, or cogency, and the inducements of arguments. Number 7, power of resisting force, strain, wear, etc. Number 8, vigor of action, language, feeling, etc. Number 9, the effective or essential properties, characteristics of a beverage, chemical, or the like. Number 10, a particular proportion or concentration of these properties, intensity as of light, color, sound, flavor, odor. Number 11, a positive or valuable attribute or quality. Number 12, something or someone that gives one strength or is a source of power or encouragement or sustenance. And then from the British Dictionary, number 1, the state or quality of being physically or mentally strong. Number 2, the ability to withstand or exert great force, stress, or pressure. Number 3, something that is regarded as being beneficial or a source of power. Number 4, potency as of a drink, drug, etc. 5, power of convince or cogency. Number 6, degree of intensity or concentration of color, light, sound, flavor, etc. Number 7, finance, firmness, or of a rising tendency in prices. Number 8, from strength to strength in large numbers. And number 9, on the strength of, on the basis of, or relying upon. All right. I know that's a lot, but just want you to keep these things in mind. There are several different meanings of strength that can apply depending on how the word strength is being utilized, as you can see from these definitions. All right. So, strength. The spiritual book, authored by our spiritual creator, establishes all truth and righteousness. Strength is the mind, energy, power, and might from our creator Yahuah in righteousness, and strength is also the mind, energy, power, and might from the adversary in unrighteousness. Hence, the spiritual warfare and battle of one's individual warfare that culminates to the collective warfare of righteousness and unrighteousness until Yahuwah's day of judgment through his only begotten Son, Yahusha, that establishes righteousness on earth as it is in Shamayim, or heaven. All strength is in the spirit, thought, intent, as expressed and stated throughout the word of Yahuah, the Bible. The manifestation thereof is represented in the natural realm from what is established by the Spirit. Spirit of righteousness produces blessings, while spirit of unrighteousness manifests or produces curses. All according to Yahuah's plan of salvation to bring forth the one and only righteousness of his only begotten Son for his plan of salvation. Strength, as it pertains to our Creator Yahuah, is the origin of righteousness and the ruach, or spirit of righteousness, in ruach, spirit, and emet, truth. Strength is the mind of righteousness and the will and intent of righteousness of our Creator. This is why the scriptures of Matthew 22:36-40 conveys to us to love our Elohim with all our heart, soul, and mind, as we covered in the lesson, Yahuah's mind, knowledge of righteousness, and many other lessons. Strength, when misused, obstructed, adulterated, and defiled, is the contrary of Matthew 22:36-40, therefore producing the outcomes of the rotten fruit, lies, extreme evil, wickedness, hate, biases, and torment against the inhabitants of the world. This strength is ruled and fueled by evil, being the contrary of our Creator, and results in the day of judgment, where Yahuah will have all his pleasure. All right. So a few scriptures regarding strength. 1 Samuel 2:9-10. He will keep the feet of his saints, and the wicked shall be silent in darkness. For by strength shall no man prevail. The adversaries of Yahuah shall be broken to pieces. Out of heaven shall he thunder upon them. Yahuah shall judge the ends of the earth, and he shall give strength unto his king and exalt the horn of his anointed. Exodus 14:26-27 says, and Yahuah said unto Moshe, or Moses, stretch out your hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen. And Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to his strength when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it. And Yahuah overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. Contrary to what many believe really transpired regarding the Red Sea and Moses and all of those things, which we'll talk about in another lesson. These are all spiritual events that have manifested in the natural, but not the way that many have been perceived to think or believe. As you know, the Gentiles have put out in their version of the 10 Commandments with Yul Brynner and Charlton Heston and others, and those things, which only contributes to the strength that they've given to the adversary. We'll be talking more about that. So, Judges 16:15-20, and she said unto him, how can you say I love you when your heart is not with me? You have mocked me these 3 times and have not told me wherein your great strength lies. And it came to pass, when she pressed him daily with her words and urged him, so that his soul was vexed unto death, that he told her all his heart. And she said unto her, said unto her, there has not come a razor upon mine head, for I have been a Nazarite unto Elohim with my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak and be like any other man. And when Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Philistines, saying, "Come up this once, for he has shown me all his heart." Then the lords of the Philistines came up unto her and brought money in their hand. And she made him sleep upon her knees, and she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head, and she began to afflict him, and his strength went from him. And she said, "The Philistines be upon you, Samson." And he awoke out of his sleep and said, "I will go out as the other times before, and shake myself." And he wist not that Yahuah was departed from him. All right. So here again, we see the story of Samson and Delilah and what took place. Again, from a spiritual perspective, and this is what I want all of you to be able to understand these things, not from a carnal or natural perspective, or how man would view these words, or how it's been put on the screen in front of you from a Hollywood perspective, but what our Creator is actually telling us. All right. So as we go forward, today's lesson is strength in numbers. It's not about you, yet it is. So today we're going to discuss exactly what strength in numbers means to the 2 different audiences, one being man, who is the audience who is double-minded, the double-minded adversary of our Creator, which is the broad and wide gate that many follow. Then we will unpack and unseal and reveal more spiritual truths regarding Yahuwah's audience, who has the ears to hear and the eyes to see, whom he shares his secrets with his prophets via the scriptures of Amos 3:7. This world has many people in privileged and unprivileged countries believing in and of themselves to acquire as much money as they can do with what they want for themselves. So this message and propaganda that is shared frequently through the mouths of religious organizations or churches made with the hands of men, social media, and various other platforms and people is a dangerous message that fuels the unrighteousness of the message that goes forth. All right. So, as a prerequisite, if you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear what Yahuwah is saying through spiritual context of the lessons, I want you to make sure that you understand the lessons that we've taught up until now, and we've taught several others than these, but I want the list of these lessons to be fully comprehended as a foundation that will help you to understand today's lesson. So the first lesson is the reason why we're here, Yahuwah's plan of salvation, sound doctrine, establishing a foundation, replacement theology, 101 reasons why many are deceived, spiritual forensics, don't just read, study, enter through the narrow gate, surrender all, Yahuwah's mind, knowledge of righteousness, and signs that follow all true believers. So those are just some, of course, we have other lessons as well, but I want everyone to make sure that they have a foundation to build upon. Jumping straight into this lesson without understanding the foundational principles, many people will get lost and not understand or know, and may kick things out and say that it's false doctrine without knowing what the foundation is, and that's not the case. So we all have to make sure that we know what the foundation is on, because we know that many doctrines will sink on sinking sand because they are not on a solid foundation. All right. So let's jump in. Today's topic encompasses the following: where have you been receiving and giving your strength, which we've already gone over; defining and understanding strength from man's perspective; defining and understanding strength from Yahuwah's perspective by way of his word and Yahuwah's strength; strength in numbers, highs and lows, heavens and below the heavens, mountains on high, being cast down, and more on strength in numbers, Yahuwah's strength, man's definition of army, Yahuwah's spiritual definition of army, spiritual armor of Yahuwah, soldiers of an army, which city, soldier, armor, and army are you? And then we'll talk about war, cities, destruction of the cities, blessed and holy cities of the Bible, broad and wide gate and narrow gate that leads to the city. And we'll talk about armies and then conclusion of strength in numbers. All right. So strength in numbers. We've all heard it stated from man's quotes that there is strength in numbers. And where there is unity, there is strength. When we examine this from a scriptural perspective, we find that Matthew 7:13 and 14, you enter in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leads unto life, and few there be that find it. So the narrow gate, few go in, which are the remnant or the few that will be of the righteous. In the broad and wide gate, many go therein, the masses, many that are unrighteous. Therefore, we can understand, conceive, and conceptualize that while the remnant are operating through the narrow gate in the wilderness and in the shadows, building strength through the righteousness of Yahuwah's word, while the world or masses enter through the broad and wide gate and give their strength to fuel the adversary, the beast, Hasatan, until Yahuwah's day of judgment. It is through the destruction of the minds due to following the ways of the evil one that many will undergo judgment as the abomination of desolation, which is the false beliefs, church and religious systems, governments erected upon man's ideologies, traditions of men, and the love of money, that leads them to understand that they've been beguiled, bamboozled, and deceived. The strength of the broad and wide gate will tremendously decrease in number as the spirit of Yahuwah is poured out amongst his people, who will then enter through the narrow gate and accept Yahuwah's righteousness through Yahusha, the first fruits in the body of believers. That will strengthen the body of Yahuwah and Yahusha's righteousness and defeat the unrighteousness of the dragon, adversary, beast of Satan. In this example, we have a clear understanding of a value based on volume, size, capacity, scope as a comparison. Many, broad and wide gate is a high numeric value, while remnant, narrow gate is few during Yahuwah's harvest seasons. So we should now be thinking of numbers that are of various religions and belief systems or divided houses that have been in operation before Yahuwah's kingdom on earth. When Revelation 18:4 and 5 states that, hold on a second. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and Elohim has remembered her iniquities." My question to all of you that are listening, is what representation are you in numbers at this time? Are you fueling the beast, ruled by Satan and his cohorts through the broad and wide gate? Or is your understanding of righteousness in spirit and in truth of Yahuwah, who is set apart from this world? All right. So as we continue with strength in numbers, sorry, I'm having problems with one of my screens here. We're in a day and time where decisions are often made based on numbers. More specifically, analytics, data science, statistics, figures, and other mathematical equations that bring forth decisions that shape our natural lives. While these analytics and statistics can serve as an important role in various aspects of our natural lives, many look and analyze numbers incorrectly in their thought process, especially when it comes to our spiritual lives and our Creator, Yahuah. Essentially, when it comes to Yahuwah's assembly or church and the timing when the church is to be built and the outcome of the building of Yahuwah's church, man fails miserably. Hence is why the masses flocked into the synagogues, churches, mosques, temples made with the hands of men where we were not to go, per Acts 7:48 and 49 and Acts 17:24. The masses of which the scriptures inform us are deceived and go through the broad and wide gate is where people look at the high numbers to follow when the scriptures consistently warn us about following the ways of the Gentiles, which is through the broad and wide gate that leads to destruction. Matthew 7:13 and 14. We see this occurring repeatedly throughout history, including today. Many choose to follow teachings, understandings, ministries, social media sites, etc., that have a high number of followers. Our Creator Yahuah, through His Word, encourages, inspires, and expects for His assembly to make wise decisions based on righteousness and not numeric value calculations as established by man. The two are distinctively different. Ultimately, following the latter, high volume of numbers during a time and season where we weren't to follow such will be to the demise of many, the broad and wide gate, Yahuwah's day of judgment. During Yahuwah's first advent, we clearly see via the scriptures that Yahusha was the minority being mocked and scoffed by the masses. Now, during his second advent, what do you think is happening? Selah. What do you think will happen to the high numbers of congregations, followers, cohorts, and supporters that are following unrighteousness under Satan's regime, being unaware, deceived as the truths are revealed and the manifestation thereof? What do the scriptures inform us regarding the matter? All these things must occur to demonstrate the power, authority, and might of Yahuah and Yahusha, says the word of Elohim. So let's talk about the highs and lows and heavens and below the heavens. Many have heard and used the phrase, what goes up must come down. While from man's perspective, this pertains to the law of gravity, many have also used the saying referring to economic inflation, gas prices, the housing market, salaries, and people in high places. What does the Bible or the sword or tree of life say about this? Genesis 28:12 through 17 states, and he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of Elohim ascending and descending on it. And behold, Yahuwah stood above it and said, I am Yahuwah, Elohim of Abraham your father, and Elohim of Isaac. The land whereon you liest, to you will I give it, and to your seed. And your seed shall be the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in you and in your seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And behold, I am with you, and will keep you at all places whither you go, and will bring you again into this land. For I will not leave you until I have done that which I have spoken of you, to you of. And Jacob awaked out of his sleep, and he said, surely Yahuah is in this place, and I knew it not. And he was afraid and said, how dreadful is this place? This is none other but the house of Elohim, and this is the gate of heaven. So there's plenty to unpack in this passage alone. First, we must understand that Jacob's dream sees the ladder, which is the pathway to reach heaven and the understanding thereof. In that understanding, he sees angels of Elohim going up in their knowledge, wisdom, and truth, as the only way that he can see him is by faith in the knowledge, spirit, and truth that he imparts in us. Meanwhile, there are angels that are descending. It is critically important to understand that angels that are descending and why they are descending, as we point out in various other lessons. The rest of the passage then speaks to the fact that Yahuah stood above this in the third heaven and tells him, the collective body of Jacob, that he is Yahuah, the Abba or father, Abraham and Isaac, in the land where you are, to you will I give it, and to your seed. So we are to keep all these things in mind from a spiritual perspective so that we can receive the blessings that Yahuah has for the seed of his righteousness, which comes through the genealogy, the spiritual genealogy of Abraham. All right.
There's a precept for that in John as well.
Exactly. So let's talk about also the mountain on high. So we just talked about those ascending and descending. There's mountains, there's valleys, all of the language that's within the scripture. And of course, as I pointed out with the things that have been put before our faces, and whether it's from Hollywood, whether it's from churches, whether it's from traditions of men, they paint a picture of things that are carnal and natural without it having the spiritual connotation or conception of what our Creator is telling us. So let's talk about what it is, what the mountains are. Ephesians 6:10-12 says, finally, my brother, be strong in Yahuah and the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of Elohim that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Not in low places, in high places. So, what's in high places? Someone has to be either below that which is above them on high, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You guys say that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, no, maybe so?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Let's look at Ephesians 4:4-16. There is one body and one spirit, even as you are called in one hope of your calling. One Yahuah, one faith, one baptism, one Elohim and Father of all, who is above all, and through all, and in you all. But unto every one of us is given grace according to the measure of the gift of Mashiach. Wherefore he says, when he ascended up on high, he led captivity captive and gave gifts unto men. Now that he ascended, what is it but that he also descended first into the lower parts of the earth?
Mm-hmm.
He that descended is the same also that ascended up far above all heavens, that he might fill all things. And he gave some apostles, and some prophets, and some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers, for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Mashiach, till we all come in the unity of faith and of the knowledge of the Son of Elohim, unto a perfect man, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Mashiach, that we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. But speaking the truth in love may grow up into him in all things, which is the head, even Mashiach, from whom the whole body, fitly joined together and compacted, by which every joint supplies according to the effectual working in the measure of every part, makes increase of the body unto the edifying of itself in love. Now that's a mouthful.
Yes, it is. It's a deep statement.
Yeah.
There's so much to
unpack.
Really unpack. That's a whole lesson in message in itself. And we've talked about a lot of this before, but for the sake of this lesson as well, I want you to understand, before going up, everything that this passage talks about, from Ephesians 4:9. Now that he ascended, what is it that he also descended first into the lower parts of the earth? This should now be causing you to think and understand what the scriptures are telling us. How is he going to ascend? When he ascends, where was he before?
Heaven.
No, but before he ascends, where was he? In the lower parts of the earth.
In the heart of the earth.
All right. And he that descended is the same also that ascended up far above all heavens, that he might fulfill all things. What is that telling us?
Just as you were from times past, right?
That's part of it. Yeah. What else?
What verse are you reading from?
4:10, Ephesians 4:10.
He that descended is the same also that ascended up. That is descended is the same also that ascended up far above all heavens, that he might fill all things. Oh, that's telling us that we are of the Almighty.
All right. So again, when we talk about, as I mentioned in the beginning of this lesson, understanding the reason why we're here, how we got here, and where we're going. Yeah. That's an important or critical understanding that one must have to understand what the rest of the scriptures are enlightening us and telling us, because this is the blueprint for us to get back to our Creator. First, we have to understand why we're here.
Right.
And that we first descended, from the third heaven.
From the third.
And we came here, as we talked about, in the three earth ages and three world ages, and how we got here, number one. And then, of course, even in the world ages, what takes place within each world age. The same thing of the ascending and descending takes place during those times as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk more about that, but I don't want to belabor the rest of this. So let's continue on with mountains and on high. In Job 5:9-19, it says, which does great things and unsearchable, marvelous things without number, who gives rain upon the earth and sends water upon the fields, to set up on high those that be low, that those which mourn may be exalted to safety. He disappoints the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. He takes the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the froward is carried headlong.
Mm.
They meet with darkness in the daytime and grope in the noonday as in the night.
Mm.
But he saves the poor from the sword, from their mouth, and from the hand of the mighty. So the poor has hope, and iniquity stops her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, happy is the man whom Elohim corrects. Therefore, despise not you the chastening of the Almighty. For he makes sore and binds up. He wounds, and his hands make whole. He shall deliver you in 6 troubles. Yea, in 7 there shall no evil touch you.
Mm.
Mm.
All right. Then Psalms 91, 8 through 15 says, only with your eyes, which is your understanding, shall you behold and see the reward of the wicked. Because you have made the Adonai, which is my refuge, even the Most High, your habitation. Therefore shall no evil befall you, neither shall any plague come nigh your dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over you and keep you in all your ways. They shall bear up in their hands, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You shall tread upon the lion and adder, the young lion and the dragon shall you trample under feet. Because he has set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high, because he has known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. All right. So that's on high. Again, some more on high in Isaiah 24, 17 through 21. Fear and the pit and the snare are upon you, O inhabitant of the earth. It shall come to pass that he who flees from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit, and he that comes up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare. For the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth do shake. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean, dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage. And the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahuah shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth.
Mm.
All right. Isaiah 26, 4 through 8. Again, we're talking about on high. Trust you in Yahuah forever. For in the Adonai Yahuah is everlasting strength. For he brings down them that dwell on high. The lofty city, he lays it low. He lays it low even to the ground. He bringeth it even to the dust. The foot shall tread it down, even the feet of the poor, and the steps of the needy. The way of the just is uprightness. You, most upright, dost weigh the path of the just. Yea, in the way of your judgments, O Yahuah, have we waited for you. The desire of your soul is to your name and to the remembrance of you. The remembrance of you. If you remember, what does that mean? In order to remember, you forgot.
Yeah, definitely. Like in times past.
Mm.
Yeah, just like in times past.
Exactly.
Even the first part that you was reading from of Isaiah 24:17 to 21 actually highlights the same situation occurring again
Exactly.
with
Exactly.
those that are up on high now will have to come down. And it's just,
Exactly.
Yeah.
the Most High is the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Exactly. So when we don't see righteousness on high, we know that what's on high has to come down.
Exactly.
When it's unrighteousness on high, unrighteousness comes down. Same thing that happened in times past when those, again, the reason why we're here, the unrighteous had to come down.
And righteousness stayed up there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So again, mountains on high. Well, let's go through it. Isaiah 33:5-6. Yahuah is exalted, for he dwells on high. He hath filled Zion with judgment and righteousness, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of your times, and strength of salvation. The fear of Yahuah is his treasure. So, again, the Son of Man must be lifted up on high for righteousness and Yahuah and Yahuah's namesake. So let's look at John 12:27-35. Now is my soul troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour. But for this cause came I unto this hour. Father, glorify your name. Then came there a voice from heaven saying, I have both glorified it and will glorify it again. What do you think that means there? I have both glorified it and will glorify it again.
I have both glorified it and will glorify it again.
It's just like what we were just talking
I'm
about. He
seeing
did it
what?
once already.
Right.
There's nothing new under the sun. What he's
Right.
done is what he's doing again.
Yeah.
So the judgment on the earth today is the judgment that happened in the third heaven. So before we were natural beings on the earth as terrestrial beings, he already won the war. He already won the righteousness against the unrighteousness. That's why the unrighteousness fell or are here on the earth. And those that are unrighteous here on the earth that will be annihilated will never make it back to him. Those that do accept him through his son will make it back unto him. That's what the righteousness is. That's why he says, I have both glorified it and will glorify it again here. All right. The people therefore that stood by and heard it said that it thundered. Others said, an angel spake to him. Yahusha answered and said, this voice came not because of me, but for your sakes. Now is the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be cast out. And I, if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me. This he said, signifying what death he should die. The people answered him, we have heard out of the law that Mashiach abides forever. And how, say you, the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is this Son of Man? Then Yahusha said unto them, yet a little while is the light with you. Walk while you have the light, lest darkness come upon you. For he that walks in darkness knows not whither he goes. All right. So, again, please note that the Son of Man was lifted up, as the Gentile Christians have taught, taking the sheep through the broad and wide gate to destruction. We would have been in the kingdom on earth for the past 2,000 years, which anyone with reasonable critical thinking skills would identify that definitely we have not been in the kingdom on earth up until this time. So while we're not going to address, all of the indicators of, of that during this lesson, we'll definitely teach it in other lessons for people to understand those aspects. All right. So just a little bit more on the mountain on high, the unbelief of the people in John 12:36-43. While you have the light, believe in the light, that you may be the children of light. These things spoke Yahusha and departed, and did hide himself from them. He departed and then hid himself from them. But though he had done so many miracles before them, yet they believed not on him, that the saying of Isaiah the prophet might be fulfilled, which he spoke, Adonai, who has believed our report, and to whom hath the arm of the Adonai been revealed? Therefore they could not believe, because that Isaiah said again, he hath blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, that they should not see with their eyes, nor understand with their heart, and be converted, as I should heal them. And I should heal them. These things said Isaiah when he saw his glory and spoke of him. Nevertheless, among the chief rulers, also many believed on him. But because of the Pharisees, they did not confess him, lest they should be put out of the synagogue. For they loved the praise of men more than the praise of Elohim. I said, for they loved the praise of men more than the praise of Elohim.
Mm-hmm.
I said, for they love the praise of men more than the praise of Elohim. Now, we see this constantly. We see it in the workplace. We see it in families. We see it in our communities. The people that want to glorify themselves and make themselves appear to be a certain way to other people because they want the praise of men instead of doing the right things for the right reasons.
That's what fuels the church.
This is the same thing that happened with those on high.
Exactly.
This is how a lot of them got on high. And we have to understand these things.
That's what fuels a lot of these churches that people are in.
Exactly.
Mm.
All right. So now that we talked about on high, let's talk about being cast down. In Revelations 12:7-11, it says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found anymore in heaven. They weren't there anymore. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceived the whole world, and he was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom, and strength, and the kingdom of our Elohim and the power of his Mashiach. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our Elohim day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. All right. I want that to sink in for a minute. I was going to say a lot more, but I'm going to try to cut down on some of my commentary here. Let's continue with some more being cast down. Again, this is about strength in numbers and those on high and those that come down, that are cast down. In Leviticus 26:23-37, it says, and this is about chastisement for disobedience. And if you will not be reformed by me, by these things, but will walk contrary unto me, then will I also walk contrary unto you, and will punish you yet 7 times for your sins, and will bring a sword upon you that shall avenge the quarrel of my covenant. And when you are gathered together within your cities, I will send the pestilence up among you, and you shall be delivered into the hand of the enemy. And when I have broken the staff of your bread, 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven, and they shall deliver you your bread again by weight, and you shall eat and not be satisfied. And if you will not for all of this hearken unto me, but walk contrary unto me, then I will walk contrary unto you also in fury. And I, even I, will chastise you 7 times for your sins. And you shall eat the flesh of your sons, and the flesh of your daughters shall you eat. And I will destroy your high places, and cut down your images, and cast your carcasses upon the carcasses of your idols. And my soul shall abhor you. And I will make your cities waste, and bring your sanctuaries unto desolation, and I will not smell the savor of your sweet odors. And I will bring the land into desolation, and your enemies which dwell therein shall be astonished at it. And I will scatter you among the heathen, and will draw out a sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste. Then shall the land enjoy her Sabbath, as long as it lieth desolate, and you be in your enemy's land. Even then shall the land rest, and enjoy her Sabbath. As long as it lies desolate, it shall rest, because it did not rest in your Sabbath when you dwelt upon it. And upon them that are left alive of you, I will send a faintness into their hearts in the lands of their enemies, and the sound of a shaken leaf shall chase them, and they shall flee as fleeing from a sword, and they shall fall when none pursueth. And they shall fall one upon another as it were before a sword, when none pursueth, and you shall have no power to stand before your enemies.
It's deep.
Sounds so familiar.
All right, so he's talking to whom here? What audience is he speaking to?
His people.
The eye.
His chosen people.
Yeah. The apple of his eye.
Exactly. So let's continue a little bit more with Leviticus 26:38 through 46. And you shall perish among the heathen, and the land of your enemies shall eat you up. And they that are left of you shall pine away in their iniquity in your enemies' lands, and also in the iniquities of their fathers shall they pine away with them. If they shall confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their fathers with their trespass, which they trespassed against me, and that also they have walked contrary unto me, and that I also have walked contrary unto them, and have brought them into the land of their enemies. If then their uncircumcised hearts be humbled, and then they accept of their punishment of their iniquity, then will I remember my covenant with Jacob, and also my covenant with Isaac, and also my covenant with Abraham will I remember, and I will remember the land. The land also shall be left of them, and shall enjoy her Sabbath, while she lieth desolate without them. And they shall accept of the punishment of their iniquity, even because they despised my judgments, and because their soul abhorred my statutes. And yet for all of that, when they be in the land of their enemies, I will not cast them away, neither will I abhor them, to destroy them utterly and to break my covenant with them. For I am Yahuah, their Elohim. But I will for their sakes remember the covenant of their ancestors, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt into the sight of the heathen, that I might be their Elohim. I am Yahuah. These are the statutes and judgments and laws which Yahuah made between him and the children of Israel in Mount Sinai by the hand of Moses. Right? Again, about casting down, we're going to talk about Amaziah's victories in 2 Chronicles 25, 5 through 13. Moreover, Amaziah gathered Judah together and made them captains over thousands and captains over hundreds, according to the houses of their fathers, throughout all Judah and Benjamin. And he numbered them from 20 years old and above, and found them 300,000 choice men able to go forth to war, that could handle spear and shield. He hired also 100,000 mighty men of valor out of Israel for 100 talents of silver. But there came a man, Elohim, to him, saying, O king, let not the army of Israel go with you. For Yahuah is not with Israel, to wit, with all children of Ephraim. But if you will go, do it. Be strong for the battle. Elohim shall make you fall before your enemy, for Elohim has power to help, and to cast down. And Amaziah said unto the man of Elohim, But what shall we do for the 100 talents which I have given to the army of Israel? And the man of Elohim answered, Yahuah is able to give you much more than this. Then Amaziah separated them, to wit, the army that was come to him out of Ephraim to go home again. Wherefore their anger was greatly kindled against Judah, and they returned home in great anger. And Amaziah strengthened himself and led forth his people and went to the valley of Salt and smote of the children of Seir 10,000. And other 10,000 left alive did the children of Judah carry away captive, and brought them unto the top of the rock, and cast them down from the top of the rock, that they were broken in pieces. But the soldiers of the army, which Amaziah sent back, that should not go with him to battle, fell upon the cities of Judah, from Samara unto Betharon, and smote 3,000 of them, and took much spoil. We're going to be talking about this. I want you to keep all these things in mind, because I'm going somewhere. I want you to understand all these battles and wars and the going up and coming down, and these soldiers and armies and what they represent, for us to be able to know and see what the Most High has been doing, and understanding these things from the spiritual context in which it's meant to be understood. So cast them down again. Gideon destroys the altar of Baal. Judges 6:25 through 31. And it came to pass the same night that Yahuah said unto him, Take your father's young bullock, even the second bullock of 7 years, and throw down the altar of Baal, and your father hath, and cut down the grove that it is by. And build an altar unto Yahuah your Elohim upon the top of this rock, in the ordered place, and take the second bullock, and offer a burnt sacrifice with the wood of the grove, which you shall cut down. Then Gideon took 10 men of his servants, and did as Yahuah had asked unto him. And so it was, because he feared his father's household and the men of the city, that he could not do it by day, that he did it by night. And when the men of the city arose early in the morning, behold, the altar of Baal was cast down, and the grove was cut down that was by it, and the second bullock was offered upon the altar that was built. And they said one to another, who hath done this thing? And when they inquired and asked, they said, Gideon, the son of Joash, has done this thing. Then the men of the city said to Joash, bring out your son, that he may die, because he hath cast down the altar of Baal, and because he hath cut down the grove that was by it. And Joash said unto all that stood against him, will you plead for Baal? Will you save him? He that will plead for him, let him be put to death whilst it is yet morning. If he be a god, let him plead for himself, because one has cast down his altar. Again, casting down the love of Yahuah through his righteousness and fire in Psalms 89:35-48. Once have I sworn by my holiness that I will not lie unto David. His seed shall endure forever, and his throne as the sun before me. It shall be established forever as the moon and as the faithful witness in heaven. Selah. But you have cast off in a horde, you have been wroth and with your anointed. You have made void the covenant of your servant. You have profaned his crown by casting it to the ground. You have broken down all his hedges. You have brought his strongholds to ruin. All that pass by the way spoil him. He is reproached to his neighbors. You have set up the right hand of his adversaries. You have made all the enemies to rejoice. You have also turned the edge of his sword, and have not made him to stand in the battle. You have made his glory to cease, and cast his throne down to the ground. The days of his youth have you shortened. You have covered him with shame. Selah. How long, Yahuah, will you hide yourself forever? Shall your wrath burn like fire? Remember how short my time is. Wherefore have you made all men in vain? What is man is he that lives and shall not see death? Shall he deliver his soul from the hand of the grave? Selah. Again, cast down the wicked, cast down for the poor and needy, down the poor and needy, and Yahuah strengthens in Psalms 37:8-24. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not yourself in any wise to do evil, for evildoers shall be cut off. But those that wait upon Yahuah, they shall inherit the earth. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be, yea, shall diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. The wicked plots against the just, and gnashes upon him with his teeth. Yahuah shall laugh at him, for he sees that his day is coming. The wicked have drawn out the sword, and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and needy, and to slay such as be of upright conversation. Their swords shall enter into their heart, and their bows shall be broken. A little that a righteous man has is better than the riches of many wicked. For the arms of the wicked shall be broken, but Yahuah upholds the righteous. Yahuah knows the days of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. They shall not be ashamed in the evil time, and in the days of famine shall they be satisfied. But the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of Yahuah shall be as the fat of the lambs. They shall consume, into the smoke shall they consume away. The wicked borrows and pays not again, but the righteous shows mercy and giveth. But such as be blessed of him shall inherit the earth, and they shall be cursed of him shall be cut off. The steps of a good man are ordered by Yahuah, and he delights in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for Yahuah upholds him with his hand. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So we know that we've fallen several times, back and forth, upside down, over and through, and all of those things that we've seen constantly throughout the scriptures. But for his chosen people, he will not cast down. He will not get rid of them, because he will use them as he takes them through the fire and chastise them over and over again, and the remnant thereof will bring up his people. All right? So, strength in numbers. We see strength in numbers at work on a spiritual perspective that manifests to the natural outcomes, good or evil, righteous or unrighteous. Teams of any kind work together as one. We know that in plurality and singularity or uniplural. We've talked about this. We see it here in the world. When we talk about teams working together, whether it's a basketball team, baseball team, football team, or any type of team, the entire team works together as one.
Mm-hmm.
If we talk about, say, the Boston Celtics, that's a team of many people, of many members of that one team. So I want us to understand the plurality and the singularity as the team. All right, and then we talk about the protest on a specific cause as one with many in unity. Again, plurality and singularity. We have several protests that we've seen. We see, the BLM, Black Lives Matter, and the Me Too movement, and all of those things. People come together, many people, as one team or one body for a specific cause in unity. Again, we see the strength in numbers there. So if one person was BLM or one person was the Me Too movement, it probably wouldn't get very far, right? But we see the strength in the numbers that come together when a team is formed and things happen from a numbers perspective within those teams. All right. Number 3, man's militaries build numbers as their strength when they strengthen when they fight man's war. So we know the military can't consist of one person. If the Army or the Navy or Air Force and Marines only had one person each, they would be in trouble with their agenda. So we know that they build their numbers to build their strength, right? Mm-hmm. Against different people that they come against in war from a man's perspective. Again, that's not the righteous thing to do, to have their wars, but we're not even talking, they're not of the righteous at that point. But again, we see the strength in the numbers when man fights his wars. We see strength in numbers in man's voting process, majority rules. We see the same when it comes to man's economic system and those that follow it. We see power and influence of many versus few. Again, during Yahuwah's first advent, did he have the majority of the inhabitants following his righteousness? No, he did not. If so, we wouldn't be here where we are at this time, if that were the case. Right? Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Number 7, man's judicial system. The jury, verdict is based on a unanimous decision of a group of jurors. A group of jurors, typically 12, that decides one's fate. Together as one body, a decision or conclusion is made. However, how many times have we seen this system fail when many are falsely accused and serve time and penalties against them for an offense that they did not commit? Although it is one body attempting to facilitate Yahuwah's righteousness and judgment, it clearly is not. It is the work of man. So, please be sure to see the upcoming lesson regarding Yahuwah's Torah, law, judge, jury, offenders, and verdict. Number 8, we've heard the phrase or saying, it takes a village to raise a child, an example of many working together as one. Number 9, we often see when a circumstance or situation arises, is identified, and someone starts to gather as many as possible to do good to assist others. We see this with crowdfunding, with GoFundMe accounts, community activism, etc. Many people act as one for a specific cause. There's strength in numbers. All right. So we see this representation where there is unity and togetherness and righteousness and good, and we also see it when it is done unrighteousness and in evil. Here are a few other examples to think about. Number 1, Yahuwah's church and assembly, set apart in unity and righteousness for his name's sake. Righteousness in spirit and in truth. That's righteous, right? That's where the few, we know that, in going through the narrow gate, that it's few, but it's still a number of people in that unity, in that body.
Yeah.
Number 2, nations, teams, or groups of people as one body who are for themselves, their nations, and against others. That's unrighteousness. The manifestation of physical wars, biases, division, and is not of our Creator Yahuwah. Whereas the true spiritual nation of Israel is of Yahuwah's righteousness. Number 3, different economic systems in a town, city, state, country, and continent, from that perspective, all looking out for themselves in their own kingdoms that they built upon the earth. Unrighteousness, division, separation, hate, biases, disparities, and injustice within its own and externally. Man's carnal, wicked, subtle, and crafty intelligence to obtain what he wants for their specific groups of people while they reign over others for power, rulership, and money, to live deliciously from unrighteousness while others pay the price. Then number 4, people helping others when governments, churches, religious organizations, and others aren't. We see the righteousness of people use their power to come together through campaigns, crowdfunding, GoFundMe contributions to assist others where the leadership failed to do so. The righteousness of the people helping others, but still need to know and operate under the righteousness of Yahuwah and Yahusha. Unrighteousness of the leadership that do not do the necessary and do not teach, operate, and have the government on the shoulder of Yahuwah, which is where they are. So they take it upon themselves to do righteousness because they see the leadership of their countries, their towns, their cities, their community aren't doing it. So here we see one of the many ways that Yahuwah informs us how Satan has turned the whole world upside down and deceived the whole world. Acts 17, 1-9, and Revelations 12, 9. Again, strength in numbers. There's strength also in the spiritual numbers of the scriptures, which we addressed in Yahuwah's spiritual language and spiritual times lesson series. We can't reiterate this enough. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, says Yahuwah. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Isaiah 55, 8 and 9. As you see in Yahuwah's spiritual language and spiritual time series, Yahuwah's ways differ greatly from man's ways. Having said that, you must understand that there's strength in the spiritual numbers that Yahuwah speaks of and lays out throughout the biblical text. It will only be those that have the eyes to see and the ears to hear that will comprehend the meaning and significance of the spiritual numbers, all for Yahuah and Yahusha's namesake, and to fulfill Yahuwah's plan of salvation. The strength in spiritual numbers throughout the scriptural text of the Bible provides spiritual context of the scriptures to accomplish the purification, restoration, and transformation of the minds, heart, and spirit of Yahuwah's one true assembly. In other words, the spiritual numbers are not predicated upon numeric value in mathematic equations. Instead, it is based upon spiritual context of the numbers and relativity to spiritual time, spiritual events, spiritual inhabitants of Yahuwah's righteousness, as well as the contrary for the written word of the two worlds, the natural carnal world ruled by man, Satan, the beast, in unrighteousness, while the spiritual world is ruled by Yahuah and Yahusha's true prophets, apostles, and rulers in righteousness. So we share more in greater detail in both Yahuwah's spiritual time and spiritual language series. So please be sure to study those lessons in these series for mind-blowing truths and the mysteries that are unsealed and revealed. Let's talk a little bit about Yahuwah's strength. First, in knowing our Creator Yahuwah, we must have faith and believe in His word. And having said that, let's look at a few of His scriptures regarding His strength. In Isaiah 40:28-31, it says, "Have you not known? Have you not heard that the everlasting Elohim Yahuwah, the Creator of the ends of the earth, faints not, neither is weary? There is no searching of His understanding. He gives power to the faint, and to them that have no might, He increases strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon Yahuwah shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint." Psalm 81-3 says, "Give ear, O shepherd of Israel. You shall lead Joseph like a flock. You that dwelleth between the cherubims shine forth. Before Ephraim and Benjamin and Manasseh, stir up your strength and come and save us. Turn us again, O Elohim, and cause your face to shine, and we shall be saved." 1 Corinthians 16:9-13. Sing unto him, sing psalms unto him. Talk you all of his wondrous works. Glory you in his holy name. Let the heart of them rejoice that seek Yahuwah. Seek Yahuwah and his strength. Seek his face continually. Remember his marvelous works that he has done, his wonders and his judgments of his mouth. O you seed of Israel his servant. You you children of Jacob, his chosen ones. So once again, we should be able to see that Yahuwah's strength is in the spirit that dwells in his people. He imparts his strength in his people for the results and outcomes of his righteousness in both blessings and in curses to facilitate his plan of salvation. We must understand that. All right. Let's talk a little more about his strength. Samuel, I think this is 1 Samuel 2:1-10. And Hannah prayed and said, "My heart rejoiced in Yahuwah. My horn is exalted in Yahuwah. My mouth is enlarged over mine enemies, because I rejoice in your salvation. There is none holy as Yahuwah, for there is none beside you, neither is there any rock like our Elohim. Talk no more, so exceeding proudly. Let not arrogance come out of your mouth, for Yahuwah is an Elohim of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. The
Mm.
bows of the mighty men are broken, and they that stumbled are girded with strength. They that were full have hired out themselves for bread, and they that were hungry ceased, so that the barren have borne 7, and she hath made children and waxed feeble. That have made children and waxed feeble. Yahuah kills and makes alive. He brings down to the grave and brings up, as we spoke of earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yahuah makes poor and makes rich. He brings low and lifts up, as we spoke of earlier. He raises up the poor out of the dust and lifts up the beggar from the dunghill, to set him among princes and to make them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillars of the earth are Yahuwah's, and he has set the world upon them. He will keep the feet of his saints, and the wicked shall be silent in darkness, for by strength shall no man prevail. The adversaries of Yahuah shall be broken to pieces, out of the heavens shall he thunder upon them. Yahuah shall judge the ends of the earth, and he shall give strength unto his king, and exalt the horn of his anointed. 2 Samuel 22:31-36 says, as for Elohim, his way is perfect. The word of Yahuah is tried. He is a buckler to all of them that trust him. For who is Elohim? Save Yahuah. And who is a rock? Save our Elohim. Elohim is my strength and my power, and he makes my way perfect. He makes my feet like hinds' feet and sets me upon high places. He teaches my hands to war, so that a bow of steel is broken by mine arms. You have also given me the shield of your salvation, and your gentleness has made me great. All right. So I'm taking you somewhere with all of this. Again, strength in numbers. We're going to talk about the armies. So we've talked a little bit about some of the armies and some of the biblical stories. So man's definition of army, the first one is the military forces of a nation, exclusive of the Navy and some countries, the Air Force and others. Number 2, in large military land forces, a unit consisting typically of 2 or more corps and a headquarters. Number 3, a large body of person trained and armed for war. Number 4, any body of persons organized for any purpose. Number 5, a very large number of group of something, a great multitude, a host. And then the British dictionary says for number 1, the military land forces of a nation. Number 2, a military unit, usually consisting of 2 or more corps with supporting arms and services. Number 3, modifier of relating to or characteristics of an army or army rations. Number 4, any large body of people united for some specific purpose. Number 5, a large number of people, animals, etc., a multitude. All right. So we're going to talk about the biblical spiritual definition of army. Biblical spiritual definition of army is doctrinal matters of truth, righteousness, or untruth, or unrighteousness, which brings forth the spiritual warfare. This occurs with each person individually as well as the collective of the truth, culminating to Elohim, Yahuah and Yahusha, and their righteousness and cleanliness or clean, when of his spirit, and also with untruths culminating to man, Satan, and the beast of unrighteousness, which is unclean, of the spirit of unholiness.
Spiritual battle.
The doctrinal positions are indicative of one's understanding individually, heart, mind, and soul, as we spoke of earlier, and collectively as one body in how they operate. Therefore, the scriptures declare, Proverbs 4:7, wisdom is the principal thing, Therefore, get wisdom, and in all you're getting, get understanding. The understanding of the spiritual army and warfare must be able to solidify their doctrinal position and understanding declared as another precept or principle of the scriptures. Isaiah 28:10-13 says, for precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little, for with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to his people, to whom he said, this is the rest wherewith you may cause the weary to rest, and this is the refreshing. Yet they would not hear, but the word of Yahuah was unto them precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little, that they may go and fall backward and be broken and snared and taken. These doctrinal matters, truth, righteousness, or untruths and unrighteousness, are the matters of one spirit in their heart, known as the spirit man, living a human experience as an incarnate or embodied spirit in a natural man, all according to Yahuwah's plan of salvation. In other words, there are two armies fighting, righteousness warring against unrighteousness. Yahuwah gave, against unrighteousness. Yahuwah gave us his love letter and blueprint to follow that demonstrates which army one belongs to and when, all based on predestination of spiritual events that took place in times past, Earth Age number 1, see chart E. All right. So, one of the things that I definitely want to come out of this is for everyone to understand and identify. One, just as the title of this lesson, Strength in Numbers, it's not about you, yet it is. It's about you individually to understand these things. It starts with one and it multiplies those seeds, whether it's sowing seeds of doubt, seeds of falsities and unrighteousness, or sowing seeds of righteousness. Those build the army. So understanding those things, we have to understand how these armies are being built. When those armies are built, now you've either built in a land or kingdom of righteousness or a land or kingdom of unrighteousness. That's the manifestation thereof. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the armor of Yahuah. Yahuwah's army go to spiritual battle with the whole armor of Elohim. We've all heard and we've read this several times of Ephesians 6:10-20. Finally, my brother, be strong in Yahuwah and in his power of his might. Put on the whole armor of Elohim that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of Elohim, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with what? Truth. And having on the breastplate of righteousness, and have your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith you shall be able to quench all the darts of the wicked. and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Elohim. Praying always with prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. And for me, that utterance may be given unto me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in bonds, that therein I may speak boldly as I ought to speak. If there's a mystery of the gospel, that means that most people don't know it. That's why it's also called the hidden manna. It's in secret. So a lot of people, again, and we talk about this in other lessons as well. Why do we have all of these different religions teaching all these different things? If there's a mystery, it's a mystery to them, to the masses, because they've gone through the broad and wide gate.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a mystery to those that have gone through the narrow gate, but that's the very few, the remnant, that can unseal and reveal the mystery of the gospel. All right. So we talked about those things. We talked about the army. Let's talk about what a soldier is. Man's definition of soldier: a person who serves in an army or a person engaged in military service. Number two, an enlisted person is distinguished from a commissioned officer. Number three, a person of military skill or experience. Number four, a person who contends or serves in any cause. So the spiritual definition of soldier is one who believes and defends either righteousness of Yahuah and Yahusha for their name's sake and their individual salvation, or one who believes and defends unrighteousness, knowingly or unknowingly, which is orchestrated by Hasatan and his cohorts, all for power, rulership, and money, building their kingdoms upon the earth and attempting to be like Elohim.
Mm-hmm.
Let me read that again. One who believes and defends either righteousness of Yahuah and Yahusha for their name's sake and their individual salvation, or one who believes and defends unrighteousness, whether it's knowingly or unknowingly, which is orchestrated by Hasatan and his cohorts, all for power, rulership, and money, building their kingdoms upon the earth and attempting to be like Elohim.
Which is what they've done.
Yeah.
Exactly. So a soldier of Elohim is not the carnal definition, which is of man. One who has the eyes to see and the ears to hear will be able to determine the extreme differences in how man operates versus how Elohim operates to fulfill his plan of salvation. We constantly reiterate Isaiah 55, 8 and 9. His ways are not man's ways. His thoughts are not man's thoughts. His ways are higher than man's thoughts and ways. We've also already outlined what a spiritual army is and what we are to armor ourselves with, which is all spiritual. No one will be cutting off anybody's heads and arms with a physical sword. The sword is the word of the Most High. That is what will be cutting, folks, his word.
That's what we will judge you.
It will cut like a two-edged sword into one's heart and understanding. And it's not their physical heart, it is their spiritual heart. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, continuing with soldiers, in John 19:23, then the soldiers, when they had crucified Yahusha, took his garment and made 4 parts, to every soldier a part, and also his coat. Now the coat was without seam, woven from the top throughout. As by now, everybody has identified what I have in red is for a reason, what I have in purple is for a reason. So understanding where soldiers are at that point is in their understanding. So it's at that point, who crucified Yahusha? The soldiers that were for him or against him at that time?
The ones that went against him.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So Acts 20, and it's not to say that they won't be saved at a later time and date, as we know that those that will come out of her, even unto this day, they're fighting 2 different wars. There are 2, they will go from one army to another, which we'll talk about. So Acts 28:16, and when we came to Rome, the centurion delivered the prisoners to the captain of the guard. But Paul was suffered to dwell by himself with a soldier that kept him. 2 Timothy 2:1-4 says, you therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Mashiach Yahusha. And the things that you have heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit you to faithful men, who shall be able to teach others also. You therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahusha Mashiach. No man that wars entangles himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him, or hath chosen him to be a soldier. Matthew 8:6-10 says, and saying, Adonai, my servant lies at home sick of palsy, grievously tormented. And Yahusha said unto him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Adonai, I am not worthy that you should come under my roof, but speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed. For I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this man, go, and he goes, and to another, come, and he comes. And to my servant, do this, and he does it. When Yahusha heard it, he marveled and said to them that followed, Verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. That's a deep statement.
Mm-hmm.
So what's being said here? For I am a man of authority, having soldiers, people that follow me and do what I say, and all these things. We see this in this world, right?
Yeah.
We see that evil has a lot of followers, and they're following. They will do what they say, following under Satan's rule and regime to do what evil tells them to do, whether knowingly or unknowingly. It's under the evil regime of Hasatan that they follow. And then Yahusha heard it and marveled, and he said to them, Verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. See, they have faith in everything that is not of him, but they don't have faith in Yahusha and in Israel.
Mm. Wow.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, soldiers, Matthew 27:27-31. Then the soldiers of the governor took Yahusha into the common hall and gathered unto him the whole band of soldiers. And they stripped him and put him a scarlet robe. And when they had platted a crown of thorns, they put it upon his head, and a reed in his right hand, and they bowed the knee before him and mocked him, saying, Hail, King of Jews. And they spit upon him and took the reed and smote him on the head. And after that they had mocked him, they took the robe off of him and put his own raiment on him and led him away to crucify him. These were done by the soldiers that were following the adversary. Whether knowingly or unknowingly, that's what happened. That's what occurred.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's talk about which city, soldier, armor, and army are you? So I have here, demonstrating what a city is. And I meant to update this color because I know you can barely see it. It looks kind of crazy. But city is basically doctrine. So that's why the scriptures tell us to stay away from certain cities. So the city is doctrine, whether it's righteous doctrine or unrighteous doctrine. And we as people and spirit beings, we believe in the city. What city should we believe in? What city should we be trying to get to?
Jerusalem.
Exactly. So we know of other cities, and we're going to go over this, that were unrighteous doctrines, unrighteous teachings that led to its demise.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we believe in a city, or we believe in the doctrine, and that's our understanding. Whether knowingly or unknowingly, we all have an understanding. most people don't realize where their understanding has come from,
Right.
and that's what has to be identified. Why do you believe in what you believe? Either you believe in righteousness or you believe in unrighteousness. Somebody planted seeds in you, your parents, your community, and all of those things that help you to believe that which you believe, whether it's righteous or unrighteous. That's the city where you dwell. You dwell in that city, in that doctrine. All right. The soldier of that city who is protecting that city are the individuals operating according to the belief of that city or doctrine, whether it's righteous or unrighteous. They're a soldier of that city. They're protecting that city, whether knowingly or unknowingly, based upon their belief. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, but yeah, so it's all about one's beliefs and operating knowingly or unknowingly for knowingly for righteousness, or knowingly and unknowingly for unrighteousness. That's what a soldier is. A soldier of righteousness is knowingly. There is no unknowingly when it comes to righteousness.
Right, because with Yahuah you lack nothing.
Yeah.
Right. But there is knowingly and unknowingly the deceived when it comes to unrighteousness.
Confusion.
All right. So we know, and we talked about the armor of Ephesians 6, and we know that there's words that are synonymous with armor, like garment, robe, coat, that are used throughout scriptures, which are part of the scriptural language that are synonymous with the armor. It's the protection of his people. And whoever has certain garments and robes and the coat, as we read throughout the scriptural text, will tell you or will enlighten you regarding that protection that's given from one to another, and when, during the timeline or the blueprint of Messiah's timeline. All right. Oh, as I said, we read the whole armor of Elohim in Ephesians 6. We understand the breastplate of righteousness, the preparation of the gospel of peace, the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Yahuah. And all of these things lead up to the army, which is the army of doctrinal matters of this city. So you're a soldier in the army of either righteousness or unrighteousness. The truth of Yahuah for Yahuah and Yahusha's name's sake, either you belong to that army or you belong to the army of the evil one. If you are of the spirit of truth, you're in the spirit of Yahuah and Yahusha. If you are in the spirit of error, you are in the spirit of the evil one.
Ashita.
Exactly. All right. So, any questions there? So, I know it's a lot to unpack regarding the spiritual warfare, but this is just a snippet of what is going to be addressed in some of the other lessons, like the lesson I wrote from back in 2013, the truth regarding outside the Garden of Eden. So definitely be certain to study that lesson as well in its entirety. It'll bring forth more knowledge and understanding of spirit and in truth. And we must understand the importance of pointing out the spirit of error and that which is untrue and has no foundation in truth, therefore making it false. And operating in falsities or in error denies the power and strength of that which is of our true creator, Yahuah. All right. So 1 John 4:4-6 says, you are of Elohim, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. They are of the world, therefore speak they of the world, and the world hears them. That's one world. We are of Elohim. He that knows Elohim hears us. He is not of Elohim. He that is not of Elohim hears us not. Hereby know we the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. Two different worlds. One world will come to the other. The kingdom on earth as it is in heaven will come to this world. The world of truth, the world of the spirit of truth against the world of the spirit of error, the spirit of lies, the wickedness, falsities, perversion, fornication of the spirit, and all of those things. All right. War. So the city, soldier, armor, and army spoken of throughout the scriptural texts leads us to the individual and collective spiritual warfare based on the seeds that are sown, as well as its culmination, it should be, in addition to the belief, following, and operating of the seeds that are sown. Unrighteous, rotten seeds or fruits that are sown culminate to the beast, while righteous seeds and good fruit of Yahuah and Yahusha in spirit and in truth culminate to his righteousness that will overcome the beast for all who come out of her. Revelations 18:4. The spiritual war increases and strengthens the evils of man, fueled by the traditions of men, wickedness, falsities, and unrighteousness that leads to devastation, spiritual and natural famine, natural wars and killing of people, corruption, hate, biases, inequities, and injustice, all for power, rulership, and money to elevate man until the day of Yahuwah's judgment. This spiritual war gains strength as many go through the broad and wide gate that leads to destruction, while the remnant goes through the narrow gate that few find on time and in season that leads to spiritual life. It will be the laboring and work of the remnant of the body that brings forth the wisdom, knowledge, and truth that will gain and draw all men unto Yahusha as he is lifted up. John 12:32, and will win as Satan is put under Yahusha's feet.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So again, going back to cities, there are many cities or doctrines and understandings listed throughout the Bible and all parts of Yahuwah's plan of salvation to get to his one holy city at the time of judgment and the kingdom on earth as it is in the Shamayim. Evil cities or doctrines conveyed in the Bible, these are perverted, adulterated, and defiled cities, doctrines, understanding, and mindset that were destroyed in world age number one. Them being of Sodom, Egypt, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zobaim. Those are a few of them. We know that Zoar was slated for destruction, but Yahuwah spared Lot's plea and his place of refuge and safety and shelter. In like manner, cities and doctrines conveyed in the Bible at the end of world age number 2, at the times of the Gentiles, will tear down the cities and empires as listed in Daniel chapter 2 and 7 upon Yahusha's resurrection. Here I'm just listing, Babylon and daughter of Babylon. We know that there are many other cities, but most of them fall under the understanding of Babylon, which is which is basically confusion, and all of the doctrines within the times of the Gentiles are of Babylon, which are confusion. All right. So in Luke 19:10, it says, "For the Son of Man came to seek and save what was lost." What was lost? His righteousness, in getting back the ultimate city of Jerusalem by building his church. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So we can see the indoctrinations that were in place both in world age number 1 and again in world age number 2 that destroyed the minds of the people.
Mm-hmm.
So again, cities, destruction of the very city doctrine that we are to get to in our spiritual knowledge and understanding. Luke 21:21-24 says, then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them which are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, the word of Yahuah, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem, doctrine, knowledge of Yahuah in spirit and in truth, shall be trodden down by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
You guys understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see why we're not in Jerusalem?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Because they snuffed it out.
Right.
And a lot of
But
the
while many people thinking that they're going to the geographic location in the Middle East, over in the nation that was rebuilt from man in 1948, that is not what the scriptures are declaring here.
exactly.
So we want to put that out there as
Building
well.
communities there and everything.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Even though Jerusalem is going to be around the entire world.
It's in the minds, because the
People.
minds of the people.
Right.
It's the elevation of the minds of the people to understand the city or doctrine of Jerusalem in their minds,
Right.
and in their hearts,
Exactly.
and in their soul.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We are the temple. We must remember that we are the temple, which is why we aren't to be in places made with the hands of men.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So again, regarding the cities, before before I go with the slide, it's important to point out and understand what Yahuah is conveying in Deuteronomy 28. I highly recommend reading and studying this chapter in its entirety, along with Deuteronomy 27 and all parallel scriptural passages, to get a more complete understanding regarding what Yahuah is saying to his people. But for the sake of this lesson, I want to bring out two of the overarching principles and verses being conveyed, while others in this chapter goes in more detail regarding these two verses. It's also important to remember, as we consistently teach, the scriptures are written for two worlds, as we just discussed, the natural world of man, or under Satan's regime, who knows not Yahuah and Yahuah's righteousness, and then the spiritual world of Yahuah and Yahusha, that the world knows not. So we have to keep these things in our mind and understanding as we go forth. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So Deuteronomy 28. Blessed shall you be in the city. City of what? City of doctrine. And blessed shall you be in the field. What's the field? The doctrine of charity and faith. That's the only way, through charity and faith is the only way that he will deliver his people, sowing the seeds of his righteousness. 28:16 says, cursed shall you be in the city, cursed shall you be in the doctrine, and cursed shall you be in the field. Doctrine lacking charity and faith, by the sowing of unrighteous seeds. So we see how the city and field, you're blessed in the city, you're blessed in the field, and you see you're cursed in the city and you're cursed in the field.
I said before you, blessings and curses.
Right. So we have to understand those things. It's not that you have to go to a geographic location like people think you'll only be blessed in a man-made city. That's not what he's saying at all.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Genesis 11:4 through 9. And they said, go to, let us build us a city, doctrine, and a tower. The exaltation of man worshiping himself. That's what the tower is, whose top may reach unto heaven. That's why they were trying to build it, so that they can get to heaven themselves and place themselves there. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And Yahuah came down to see the city, the doctrine, and the tower, the exaltation of the man worshiping himself, which the children of men built. And Yahuwah said, behold, the people is one, and they have one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Let us go down and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So Yahuwah scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because Yahuwah did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did Yahuwah scatter them abroad upon the face of the earth. And it came, then 1 Samuel 31, 8 through 10, and this is speaking to armor. And it came to pass on the morrow when the Philistines came to strip the slain, that they found Saul and his 3 sons fallen from Mount Gilboa. And they cut off his head and stripped off his armor, and sent into the land of the Philistines round about to publish it in the house of their idols and among the people. They published it in the house of their idols and among the people.
Mm-hmm.
And they put his armor in the house of Ashtaroth, and they fastened his body to the wall of Bethshan.
That's how they spread their city.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Their doctrinal understanding. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So once again, it's important, to note that the spirit trumps the manifestation of the natural, as contextual spirit comes before the natural manifestation. So when comprehending the doctrinal understanding and belief, that came before the building of the natural cities built in Satan's kingdom, one can then know what they followed, as many believed in what they see physically without spiritual understanding, and therefore suffer the penalties and consequences thereof. This is why the scriptures declare in Proverbs 4, 5 through 7, to get wisdom and get understanding, and forget it not, neither decline from the words of his mouth. We have to understand all those things. And also, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all you're getting, get understanding. Understanding of why you believe what you believe, what's been told to you, why it's been told to you. You need to understand those things. In the only way, and that's why the Holy Spirit, or the Ruach HaKodesh, leads you to all truths. He guides you to all truths. Truth is the only way that you will know, which is the origin of all. Lies come from truth, but a truth can never come from a lie.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the destruction of the cities, Leviticus 26, 30 through 33. And I will destroy your high places and cut down your images and cast your carcasses upon carcasses and idols and your idols, and my soul shall arbor you. And I will make your cities waste and bring your sanctuaries unto desolation, and I will not smell your savor or your sweet odors, and I will bring the land into desolation, and your enemies which will dwell therein shall be astonished at it. And I will scatter you among the heathen, and will draw out the sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste. In Ezekiel 35, 4 says, I will lay your cities waste, and you shall be desolate, and you shall know that I am Yahuwah. Ezekiel 6, 6 through 11 says, and all your dwelling places, the cities, shall be laid waste, and the high places shall be desolate, that your altars may be laid waste and made desolate, and your idols may be broken and cease, and your images may be cut down, and your works may be abolished. And the slain shall fall in the midst of you, and you shall know that I am Yahuwah. Yet will I leave a remnant, that you may have some that shall escape the sword among the nations, when you shall be scattered through the country. And they that escape of you shall remember me among the nations whither they shall be carried captives, because I am broken with their whorish heart, which hath departed from me, and with their eyes, which go a whoring after idols. And they shall loathe themselves for the evils which they have committed in all of their abominations. And they shall know that I am Yahuwah, and that I have not said in vain that I would do this evil unto them. Thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, smite with your hand, and stamp with thy foot, and say, alas, for all the evil abominations of the house of Israel. For they shall fall by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence.
Mm. Mm.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in addition, the destruction of the cities again in Numbers 21, 2 and 3. And Israel vowed a vow unto Yahuwah and said, if you will indeed deliver this people into my hand, then will I utterly destroy their cities, their doctrines. And Yahuwah hearkened to the voice of Israel and delivered up the Canaanites, and they utterly destroyed them and their cities. And he called the name of the place Hormah. Jeremiah 48, 8. And the spoilers shall come upon every city, and no city shall escape. The valley also shall perish, and the plain shall be destroyed, as Yahuwah has spoken. Isaiah 26, 1 through 5. In that day shall this song be sung in the land of Judah. We have a strong city.
Salvation.
In this day shall the song be sung in the land of Judah. We have a strong city.
Mm-hmm.
Salvation will Elohim appoint for the walls and bulwarks. Upon you the gates, that the righteous nations will, which keeps the truth, may enter in. You will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusts in you. Trust you in Yahuwah forever, for in Yahuwah is everlasting strength. For he bringeth down them that dwell on high, the lofty city, he lays it low. He lays it low even to the ground. He bringeth it even to the dust. Isaiah 24:10, the city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up that no man may come in. That's the destruction of the city. More destruction of the city. Jeremiah 4:25 through 29. I beheld, and lo, there was no man, and all the birds of heavens were fled.
Mm-hmm.
I beheld, and lo, the fruitful places was a wilderness, and all the cities thereof were broken down at the presence of Yahuwah and by his fierce anger. For thus has Yahuwah said, the whole land shall be desolate, yet will I not make a full end. For this shall the earth mourn, and the heavens above be black, because I have spoken it, I have purposed it, and will not repent, neither will I turn back from it.
Mm-hmm.
The whole city shall flee for the noise of the horsemen and bowmen. They shall go into the thickets and climb up upon the rocks. Every city shall be forsaken, and not a man dwell therein.
Mm-hmm.
Zephaniah 3, 1 through 6. Woe to her that is filthy and polluted, to the oppressing city. She obeyed not the voice, she received not correction, she trusted not in Yahuwah, she drew not near to her Elohim. Her princes within her are roaring lions, her judges are evening wolves, they gnaw not the bones till the morrow. Her prophets are light and treacherous persons, her priests have polluted the sanctuary, they have done violence to the law. The just Yahuah is in the midst thereof. He will not do iniquity. Every morning does he bring his judgment to light. He fails not, but the unjust knows no shame.
Mm.
I have cut off the nations. Their towers are desolate. I made their streets a waste, that none passes by. Their cities are destroyed, so that there is no man, that there is none inhabitant.
Mm.
Then Amos 4:11 and 12. I have overthrown some of you, as Elohim overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah cities. And they were as a firebrand plucked out of the burning. Yet have you not returned unto me, says Yahuah. Therefore, thus will I do unto you, O Israel. And because I will do this unto you, prepare to meet your Elohim, O Israel.
Mhm.
Isaiah 25:1-5 says, O Yahuah, you are my Elohim. I will exalt you. I will praise your name. For you have done nothing, that you have done wonderful things. Your counsels are of old, are faithfulness and truth. For you have made a city an heap, and of a defense city a ruin, a palace of strangers to be no city. It shall never be built. Therefore shall the strong people glorify you. The city of the terrible nation shall fear you. For you have been a strength to the poor, a strength to the needy in his distress, a refuge from the storm, a shadow from the heat, when the blast of the terrible ones is a storm against the wall. You shall bring down the noise of the strangers as the heat in a dry place, even the heat with the shadows of a cloud. The branch of the terrible ones shall be brought low. Isaiah 37:26. Have you not heard long ago how I have done it, and of ancient times that I have formed it? Now that I brought it to pass, that you should be to lay waste defense cities into ruinous heaps. What he's done before, he's doing again.
Mm-hmm.
Proverbs 11:9-13. An hypocrite with his mouth destroys his neighbor, but through knowledge shall the just be delivered. When it goes well with the righteous, the city rejoices, the doctrine rejoices, and when the wicked perish, there is shouting. By the blessing of the by the blessing of the upright, the city is exalted, the doctrine is exalted, but is the overthrown by the mouth of the wicked. He that is void of wisdom despises his neighbor, but a man of understanding holds his peace. A talebearer reveals secrets, but he that is of a faithful spirit conceals the matter.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So in the Bible, we have, blessed cities mentioned in the Bible, and I listed some of them here, just a few, in Judea, in Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Jericho, Mount of Olives, Galilee, Jordan, and by the Jordan River, and in Syria and Lebanon. I know that those are, for some people, questionable about understanding what's taking place in those cities or understandings, which we'll talk a lot more about a little later as well. But I want to read to you in Revelations 21:1-3, and it says, and I saw a new heaven, and this is John speaking, I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, come down from Elohim out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of the heavens saying, behold, the tabernacle of Elohim is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Elohim himself shall be with them and be their Elohim.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I mentioned before, the cities and doctrines led to the manifestation of all that has transpired with the rule of the richest building of unrighteous kingdoms and all the absence of the presence of our Creator, who is on the scene in the Aleph and Tav in the beginning and the end. So as I pointed out before, in the narrow gate lesson, many will enter in through the broad and wide gate, as we've talked about on several occasions. So I just want to bring forth this same visual again from the broad and wide gate of what takes place, that many go therein, and then coming out of her, which we are called to do, to go through the narrow gate, because the broad and wide gate leads to destruction and for the day of judgment. And many of us, I know for myself, I don't want to have to go through that. So therefore, I came out of her several years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I want us to understand that this broad and wide gate is the false doctrines, the false cities, the evils, the Sodoms, the Gomorrahs, and all of the evil cities are the doctrines themselves. So that the only way that we can get to Jerusalem is through the narrow gate, which is where the doctrine of Jerusalem resides.
Coming out of all those understandings.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I want to bring to light too, there's a process of joining or enlisting in the army for man. And in like manner, there's a process to join the army of Yahuah. So I want us to examine the two worlds and the two armies and see what Yahuah is doing for his name's sake. So first, let's talk about the armies of man, Satan's regime, the unrighteousness. So in most cases, we know, to enlist, you must be between the ages of 17 and 35 years of age to enlist in the armies. You must be a citizen of their country or a permanent resident with a valid green card. You must have a high school diploma or equivalent. You must pass the Army's entrance exam. You have to be in good physical and medical and quote unquote moral standing. And I say that, facetiously.
Right.
And you must also take an oath and bear faith and allegiance to man's military forces, which is the oath of enlistment or the oath of office for officers. All right. So all of this is to protect the geographic land, the territory, the constitution for national power, rulership, and money. And to serve in man's army, you must be willing to go to physical wars to invade, kill, and surrender one's natural life for natural riches, for their ideologies, and so forth. All right. You have to be willing to invade and take or claim land by force, thereby stealing and not being a brother's keeper. That's what they do. That's what's been done. All right. So these are the ways of the Gentiles, as the scriptures tells us, which we are not to go in those ways. We can also identify that the government which these armies are governments operating on the shoulders of Satan, which with division and schism of the body, and not on the shoulders of Mashiach Yahusha. They're not on the shoulder of Mashiach. So whose shoulder are they on? They're on the adversary's shoulder. We see that from the outcomes of what they produce: the rotten fruits, the killings, the unrighteousness, the biases, the hates, and all the things that we continuously talk about.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the army of Yahuah and Yahusha of righteousness, we recognize, identify the spirit of righteousness and spirit of unrighteousness, and flee from unrighteousness. We follow the blueprint of the scriptures and come out of her, as Revelations 18:4 says, by taking the narrow gate of Matthew 7:12 through 14, and taking off the carnal mind, ways of man, traditions of men, and mainstream religions. We submit ourselves unto Yahuah and his righteousness, and because we know that his ways are not man's ways.
Mhm.
We renew our minds and spirit unto the righteousness of Yahuah, as Romans 12:2 says, and Titus 3:4-7 says. We also study to show up ourselves approved, as 2 Timothy 2:15 states. We keep the Torah, the laws, Deuteronomy 7:11-13. And guess what? The adversary did not and does not.
Mm.
And that's what will be shown during this day of Yahuwah's judgment. Yahuwah's army, they put on the whole armor of Elohim, Ephesians 6:10-20, as we've stated. We walk in the Spirit by operating in the fruits of the Spirit, as stated in Galatians 5:5-26. We do not go in the ways of the Gentiles, as Matthew 10:5-7. That's why we've come out of her. We watch and pray, as Matthew 26:41 states, Mark 13:33, Mark 14:38, and Luke 21:36 states. The body of Yahuwah, or the army and body of Yahuwah and Yahusha, is one body with no schisms or division, as 1 Corinthians 12:12-25 states, Galatians 3:26, Colossians 3:11, and Ephesians 4:4-6. And lastly, the government must be on Yahusha's shoulders. In Isaiah 9:6, we know that the birth of Yahusha was already prophesied to be for the government to be on Mashiach's shoulders. So we know that, again, we know that the adversary, that, because they are unrighteous and all the things that we can see, prove, and understand, that it's not on Mashiach's shoulders. And we'll talk more about that, about the timing and the spiritual timing and the things that they may say to try to combat that. All right. So I also want to state that one does not have to be enlisted in man's military or army to be part of the army of man. The ideology, principles, lack of righteousness, and belief in the falsities of the manufactured systems of unrighteousness, inequities and disparities, injustice, hate, and biases is all due to the absence of righteousness of our Creator, Yahuah, all to facilitate Yahuwah's plan of salvation through His only begotten Son to win the spiritual war. So you don't have to be in the physical military to be on Satan's army. I want to point that out and make sure that people think that, oh, I'm not enlisted in the army, so I have nothing to do. It's your belief, it's your understanding of these matters that make you part of Satan's army.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, we can see the vast differences of the two worlds and how they collide. Man's ways to establish and elevate himself for the ways of man, with no regard or understanding of righteousness of our Creator, Yahuah, in spirit and in truth. So in conclusion, I just want us to know that the battle is Yahuwah's and Satan's through each spiritual being living and embodied human experience, all for Yahuwah's plan of salvation.
Mm-hmm.
Hence is the reason why we're here, Earth Age number 2. The battle is already won from Earth Age number 1. Do you know which army you're in at the moment? Do you know how you fought back against Yahuah and his righteousness in times past, Earth Age number 1, that landed you here? Do you understand that you fought back then and you're fighting back now if you haven't come out of her and haven't surrendered all to Yahuwah and Yahusha in ruach and emet, in spirit and in truth? Will it take Yahuwah's day of judgment to bring forth shock therapy, to bring forth the earthquakes of your mind, to due to being left desolate by ways of the traditions of men, including their manufactured religions that indoctrinated you to believe on their idol images and manufactured gods? Many have taken on the spirit of unrighteousness and have no idea that they've done so through the indoctrination and belief of perverted, adulterated, and defiled doctrine that they can that they can acquire riches in selfishness, self-centered and narcissistic ways, not abiding by the two greatest commandments in Yahuah and Yahusha's name, and somehow believe that they will be in the place of safety. The scriptures convey biblical principles contrary to this way of thinking. Prosperity of Yahuwah's word comes at the appropriate times and seasons of his word when one seeks first the kingdom of Elohim and not man's kingdoms or according to man's times. Ignoring the spiritual context of the scriptures or continuing in deception will only lead to destruction and paying the penalty and price during Yahuwah's day of judgment. It is best to come out of her. Revelations 18:4. So there's strength in numbers, first to the Jew or Yahudim, then to the Greek or the Gentile. A remnant seeks Yahuwah in spirit and in truth through the narrow gate and are the first fruits, and many who undergo judgment, having gone through the broad and wide gate, being left desolate, being the time of the abomination of desolation, but except Yahuwah and Yahusha will be abundantly pardoned as they transition from being a soldier in man's or Satan's army to Yahuwah's army, thereby being grafted in to the body of Yahusha, and is the strength of Yahusha in great numbers that defeats the evils of man or Satan. No one should be thinking and operating that their life, spiritual and natural, is all about them.
Mm-hmm.
If you are of our Creator, Yahuwah, and understand the reason why we're here with the will of Yahuwah, then one would recognize that this life is not about them. It's about the collective of Yahuwah's righteous spirit. However, it is about you when it comes to your salvation and what you do in the name of Yahuwah and Yahusha for their name's sake. When doing so with the understanding and pleasing Yahuwah and his righteousness by surrendering all, you have everything that you could ever need while pleasing him in your uniqueness, individuality, talents, skills, ventures, and more. You were created for him, by him, and not for you. So it's not about you, yet it is. Are you keeping the two greatest commandments, Matthew 22:36-40? Master, which is the great commandment in the Torah? Yahusha said unto him, you shall love your Adonai, your Elohim, with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. The first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. What decision did you make in times past, Earth Age number 1, as you will make the same spiritual decision during this time? Did you leave Satan's army and join the army of Yahuwah? Timing is of the essence and determines the outcomes of your kingdom, and the kingdom is within you. Luke 17:20-26. And paradise and experience, and the paradise and experience, or the contrary outcome of purgatory and annihilation that never make it to paradise. I would hate for that to be you. So I hope that the spiritual knowledge, wisdom, and information in this lesson blesses everyone, every one of you, to understand that the spiritual war is Yahuwah's and those that belong to Yahuwah for his name's sake. We are all to learn as spiritual beings in this human body, living this experience of Yahuwah's blessings and curses to glorify him. If you haven't felt Yahuwah's wrath and judgment yet, don't worry. It's coming. Selah. Shalom, family.